Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jackson here from Titanic Games. Today we're going to continue on with our survival game series, and in this tutorial we're just going to add a whole bunch of new items that we can play around with and do some easier testing with the system that we have. So the first thing that we're going to do is go into our blueprints folder, and in here we want to go into inventory because this is where we have all of our object classes and our corresponding actor classes. So the first thing that we're actually going to do is just organize it a little bit differently. So let's create a new folder here that we will call items, and we're going to take our actors and objects folder and move them into items. So we'll just say move folder here. It's going to do a whole bunch of stuff, and now you'll see here that there's been a redirector that's been created. If you don't have show to redirectors on, you can go to filter, other filters, show redirectors. And I always recommend just having that on whenever you're doing stuff in your project, because whenever you move assets or you rename them, if there's any references to those classes, sometimes a redirector can be created, and if you don't fix them, it can cause issues like linking things in your project. So to fix it up, it's really easy. You can just right click on the folder itself and say fix up redirectors, but I usually just like to do it on the project as a whole. So if you just click this little source show hide source panel thing, you can right click on the content folder and say fix up redirectors. So we'll fix up any redirectors that might have been created. So we'll come back into blueprints, inventory, and now we can delete this actors folder and we shouldn't have any issues. Okay, so next what we're going to do is create another folder that we'll call base classes. So this folder is, well, as its name implies, it's going to hold the base classes that we use to create all of our child classes from. And this will just help, keep them separated so that we don't have to, be, picking through them at all. We can just keep them all in one place and it'll be really nice and organized. So come into items, objects, and we're going to take this BP inventory item and we're just going to drag it and move it to base classes. So just hit move here. We'll come to actors now, right here. We'll take this world item, and I guess before we move it, let's actually create our first child class really quick. So we'll right click, say create child blueprint class, and we'll call this BP underscore world item underscore apple. So we're going to create an actual class now that will always use the apple object, okay? And we'll dive into that more in a second after we move this class. So let's just save everything. Now we can take our world item and we'll move it to base classes. Okay, and you see it created a redirector. So again, we'll just fix up any redirectors, get rid of any issues that could be caused through that. So let's go ahead now and look at basically taking this world item and making it an actual world item apple. Okay, so come into blueprints, inventory, items, actors, and here's our world item apple. Let's open this guy up, and you can see, so the static mesh, basically we will set this to whatever the static mesh is for the object itself, but for right now it's just going to remain this cube until we come through and fix that later. So if we click on the world item apple self here, we should be able to see under default we have some variables that we can edit. So basically right now we have our item class, which should already be set to inventory item apple, but if it's not, just make sure it is. And basically what you'll do with this for any kind of child classes you create, you'll just set the item class to whatever object you want it to, I guess, spawn with, right? So that when you go and interact with it, it will add this item class to your inventory, okay? Now the amount to add here, we can set it manually, like we could say however many we want to add every time we pick it up, or we can say do a random amount and then it'll pick between this min and max random amount. So just for the heck of it, we'll leave the apples on random so that it can pick a different variety each time we pick it up, maybe. And of course you guys can change that yourself, but I would just recommend right now following along with all the settings that we're going to set up, so that if you do come across anything, any kind of bugs or whatever, any unexpected behavior, it'll be a lot easier to figure out what went wrong, Okay, so there's our world item apple, And we can drag this in now, and we can get rid of these other two, just world items. So now we have a specific actor class that is a world item. So if we create two of these, I'll just hold Alt and click and pull the arrow there to create two. We can hit play and go interact with these by hitting F. If we hit I, you should see that it added those to our inventory, and it stacks. Okay, so there's our first item. Now let's go ahead and create a whole bunch of other object classes. So now this is sort of the core, I guess, thing that you'll do whenever you want to add your own new items. Okay, first thing that you'll do is just right click and you'll go to Blueprint Class. Okay, and you want to go under all classes here. Now under all classes, you'll simply search for BP underscore inventory item, and you want this guy, and you'll just choose that one so that you create a child of that class. So you hit select, we'll call this BP underscore invent item, and let's do, how about water bottle or something? Okay, or we'll just call it water for simplicity. So we'll open this guy up. Keeps opening on my other screen there. Sorry for that. But by default, you see that all it has is a row name. Okay, so what this means, if you don't remember, this row name is going to correspond to one of the rows that we have in our data table. Okay, so we'll come into structs now, and we'll go into data tables, and we'll go to DT underscore items here. Open this guy up, and now every time, okay, so this is the full process, right? Every time you want to add a new item, you'll create a new row. Okay, so we'll create a new row. We'll change its name to whatever we want it, to be. So it'll be water. We'll call this water bottle. That'll be the name that shows up. Description, I'll just say a refreshing drink that replenishes some thirst. Okay, then the image. So if you downloaded and imported the placeholder images that we had a while back, you can also find the link to that in the description down below in case you didn't. We should have some placeholder images. So we'll look for placeholder water, and it just says water on it. That's literally all it is. Now the type is going to be consumable. Do we want it to be able to stack? Let's say yes. And the max stack amount, let's say 99. Can we drop it? Yes, we'll be able to drop it. World actor. This will be, well, the great thing now is that since we have the world item that we'll be creating, we can specify that, but we'll have to do that in a second. So this should be basically what your water item looks like right now. Okay, so what we'll do now is with this row name, okay, we'll come into BP inventory item water. We'll just call the row name water, so that once it does all like the looking up for its information, it will look for this row name. If it finds it, it'll get all this information for us. Okay, so now the last part of the puzzle is we just need to create a world item for water. Okay, so we'll go into our inventory, items, actors, and we can actually duplicate this if we want instead of creating a child blueprint class, but I guess I'll just go through the full process once more. So we'll say blueprint class, we'll look for world item, so we want this guy, select that, we'll say BP world item underscore water. Okay, so we can open this up. Again, it just has this basic cube, but we want to change the item class here to water. Okay, now let's just go ahead and leave it not random amount, so we'll just tell it to add one water bottle or whatever every time we interact with it. Okay, so there's that. If we want to save, or excuse me, the last thing that we'll do here is go to world actor, and we'll set it to our world item water. Okay, so there's that. And while we're here, we might as well do it for apple as well. So if you just click the apple row here, we can go to world actor, and we can search for apple. We'll choose world item apple, and yes, we can drop it. Okay, so to save it, all you have to do is just hit Control Shift S. Okay, that'll save all the changes you've made to the data table. Otherwise, you can also say, you know, file, save, either way. Okay, so we have that. Now let's drag our water in here. Let's see if this system works. All right, now it should, provided we set everything up correctly. But just so you know, these two are water, okay? And these two are apples. So when we interact with them, pick up this guy. See, we have 5 apples that have been added. We pick up this guy. It just added another 5. Okay, so now we pick up this water bottle, and it's now added a water bottle. Okay, we pick up this one, and it's stacked there as well. And as you can see, we can do this in alternating fashion, you know, and it'll still pick them up correctly and stack correctly as well. Okay, so there we go. So that's really the how you'll add your new items. Okay, so I'll just run through that really quick again, and then we'll go ahead and just add a whole bunch really fast. So again, the first thing that you'll do is go into the DT_items, your data table there. You'll add a brand new row. Okay, once you've added your new row, you'll give it a name. You'll fill in its information. Okay, and then you'll go to your inventory, items, objects. You'll create a brand new a child of BP inventory item. Okay, and then in that child class, you just set its row name to the name of the new row you just added. All right, pretty simple. And then finally, or I guess second to last, you'll create a new child class of world item. So say world item, right? We'll select that one, and then in there, all you have to do is, you know, fill in the defaults here. So item class, you would set it to that new object that you just created, and then, you know, you could change the amount to add, the random amount, and whatever. So finally, once you've created the world item, okay, because that's an actual actor now, you'll just go back to the data table and set the new row's world actor to whatever that was. Okay, so you see it kind of goes in a full circle there. You start with the data table, you end with the data table. So it goes from data table to object to actor back to data table. So hopefully that makes sense. We will go through it now a couple times, make some new objects, and you can certainly fast forward through this part of the video if you want, because it might get a little monotonous, but it probably will be a little helpful to, you know, go through the process, get some more, I don't know, practice with adding your own items. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So since we're going to be adding a whole bunch at once, I think what we're going to do is come into our, you know, structs, data tables. We'll open up this again. I guess it was already open, and we'll just go ahead and add a whole bunch of rows, and then you know, we'll just come back through and add the world item for each row at the end. So we'll add a new row here, and for this new row, let's go ahead and call this knife. So I'm just going to call it, you know, its name here will be knife, description will be a weapon that can cause damage to your enemies. Okay, and then we'll search for knife here because we do have a placeholder texture for this, which again is just the word knife with an, you know, a completely transparent background. The type here, it's going to be equipment. Okay, the quality, you know, you can set these qualities if you want. So far we haven't set up anything to work with this, so we're just going to leave it at none right now. The amount, you just leave that. Can stack, we're going to leave this to false, right? We don't want to be able to stack multiple knives. At least we're not going to for this, you know, this game or this project. So can drop, yes, you'll be able to drop it. And I guess one thing to point out with this can drop is that basically if you set this to true, then it will try to use whatever world actor you set here when it tries to drop. Okay, so it's important to always have this world actor set to something if you have can drop enabled. If you don't have it enabled, You technically won't need to set world actor, but you know, it usually doesn't hurt to set it. So we'll do all that, and we'll create another row, and let's go ahead and call this axe. It'll just be an axe. We'll call this a tool to cut, or I don't know, we'll say harvest resources and hurt enemies. And we do have a placeholder for that, so we'll choose axe. It will be equipment, not consumable, and we can't stack, and can drop will be true. We'll add another row. So yeah, this is the part that gets a little monotonous, but hopefully it'll be, you know, good practice for you guys. So I'll call this one pain pills. All right, its name will be pain pills. Description will be pills that can replenish some of your health or something. We'll look for pills. Yep, pain pills. And what you might be noticing here is that I'm creating rows for all the placeholder images that we have. Okay. And yes, we'll say it can stack. Max stack amount, we'll just say 99. And can drop, of course, yes. So there's our pain pills. We're gonna add just a few more here. Let's add, how about a pistol? Maybe if I spell that right, that'll be good. We'll add a pistol. We'll call it pistol. A gun that can kill enemies much quicker than normal. Not the best descriptions, I know, but whatever. So look for pistol once again. There's that. It will be equipment. And just so you guys are aware, we are going to have a lot of other options that we'll add to our data table here, you know, specifically for different equipment that we'll have. But you know, we don't have to worry about that yet. So we'll just stick with the basics. The amount, yeah, always you just usually leave amount to 0. And in fact, we might actually get rid of this in the future, but for right now, it's not doing any harm. We don't want it to stack. You know, don't want any max stack amount, anything, but can drop, yes. We'll add another row. Call this guy bullets. We'll add, make it say bullets. And description will be ammunition for the pistol. I think we have a bullets placeholder. Yep. This will be consumable, technically. This one might need to be handled a little differently than most consumables, right? Because it's like ammunition. So we might want to make it miscellaneous for right now until we give it a better type, or a more specific type, I guess. Yes, we can stack, and we're going to make its max stack amount. How about 99 again? Okay. We're going to do one more row, and we'll just call this shirt, I guess. Shirt. An old shirt that provides some protection from the weather and enemies. How about that? And we'll look for our shirt placeholder. It's going to be equipment, can drop, and there we go. So we have all these, you know, new, so from knife to shirt, we have all these new items. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and just hit Control-Shift-S to save everything. Okay, and then we'll come back out here, go to blueprints, inventory, inventory, items, objects, and we'll create all of our objects now. So this first one, and you know what we can actually do, instead of every single time going to blueprint class and searching for inventory item, you know, and creating one this way, you can just take these and duplicate them, okay? Because they're already child classes, so it's just a little bit quicker. So we hit duplicate, say BP underscore invent item, and let's just go down the row of, you know, the new items that we added. So the next one we added was knife. So this one, we'll make sure that we call it knife. We'll open it up, and we want to make sure the row name is set to the exact name of the row here, so knife, right? And if you don't want to mess up, you can just copy it and then paste it right in there. Okay, just a way to make it less error prone, I guess. But that's all we have to do for the inventory item object. Super simple. So we'll just do the same thing. What's the next one? Axe. So we'll do the same thing. Inventory item axe. Open him up. Gosh, they keep opening on the other screen. Call it axe. Again, making sure it's the same exact name as the row here. Okay. Create another one. Invent item pain pills. So what I'm actually going to do here, guys, is I'm just going to pause the video and then skip ahead to when it's done, because you guys should be able to now create the rest of these objects on your own. So just go ahead and create the last couple and make sure to fill in the correct row name, and then I'll see you guys in a second. Alright, so we're back, and you should have now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 object classes. Okay, and in each class, the row name should correspond to its row name in the data table here. Okay, so once we've done that, now all we need to do is create the actual world actors, or the world items for each of these. So that'll be a very similar process. We'll come into actors here, and we can just duplicate these as well, since they're already child classes of our world item. But I guess just to show you guys one more time, you just go to create a new class, you just look for world item, do this, and you can select it just like that. But we'll go ahead and duplicate it. Say BP world item underscore knife. We'll open it up. Okay, you can open up the full blueprint editor if you want. Again, it's just a cube for right now, and we just want to look at the defaults here. Okay, so the item class should be set to inventory item knife, right? So the item class is going to correspond to whatever your world item is. So this is a knife, so its item class needs to be the inventory item knife. Okay, pretty simple. And we're just going to say amount to add just 1. All right, so there's that one, and you see it's like black right now. That's just because it's not wanting to update the image. I believe you can do, what is it? Okay, never mind. Just it'll fix itself eventually when you reopen the project again. It's not really an issue basically. So just go ahead now and duplicate these, create new child classes of world item for the rest of the items in our data table. So now axe to shirt. Okay, and I will see you guys in a second. All right, so we're back now, and you should now have 8 total world item classes. Now the reason it's 1 less than the objects is because, of course, we have an empty object class over here, so it still should all line up. Now just quickly to go over sort of the settings that I have, just so we're all on the same page. For the axe, let's see, for the axe, for the knife, for the pistol and shirt, these all have their amount to add just set to 1, and it doesn't have random amount checked. Okay, now for the water, well, I guess not the water, excuse me, for the, let's see, the pain pills, we have amount to add just set to 1. Okay, and the random amount is not true, whereas with bullets it is set to random amount between 1 to 10. Now basically the only time I would really recommend using random amount is whenever you have a consumable of some sort, such as the apples, or I guess technically the pain pills, it just depends, but like the bullets or any other kind of consumable item. right? You will probably want to make those random, or at least have it choose from a specific range so that it doesn't always just pick one, right? Unless, of course, you want to have a game with a lot of scarcity in it. It just really depends on, you know, sort of the game you're going for. But anyways, we have all these items now, so if we just want to test them out really quick, we can certainly do that. I'm just going to get rid of them so we only have one of each in the level. Okay, so we'll add an apple, axe, bullets, knife, pain pills, pistol, shirt, and finally water. Okay, so we have all of our items and we can properly test this out. So if we pick up this first one, you see we have our apple that's been added. We pick up this next one, we have our axe. Pick up another one, we have 9 bullets that have been added. Okay, and we can just go pick up all of these, and you see we have all of our things. And of course the item swapping still works, so you know you can move things around if you want. You can close it, open it up, everything's still in the same place, and there we go. We got a kind of a cool system starting to come together now. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and end the video here and continue on in one of the future tutorials where we will be probably diving into well, creating more of the interface here, so something like the equipment panel, which will show up over here, the hotbar panel, and like the item description panel, the crafting panel, etc. So with that, if you like this video, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you want to support what we do here, check out our Patreon to join our crew today. Shout out to our newest patrons, Mikey and Graham. Welcome to the crew. And of course, huge thanks to all of our patrons for supporting our tutorials and game development. Until next time, guys, smooth sailing.